Document approval workflow in SharePoint is useful and practical because it's very easy to start using. All you have to do is create a document library, go to Library Settings, Workflow Settings, and then add a workflow choosing Approval Template. And then when your workflow is added, you can start it on a single item and choosing your document approval workflow, assigning a participant, and starting the workflow. The approver receives notification email, goes to approval task, and approves the document. Okay. Approve. As a result of this approval, document version changes to 1.0 and the status to approved. That was easy. But let's go ahead and examine the workflow history on the approved document. Here we can see that information about version of the document that was approved is absent. We can see the comment that was entered, but we do not see which version of the document that approval applied to. Let me illustrate this by editing the document and then running the approval workflow again. So as a result of editing the document, the approval status will change to draft and document version changed to 1.1. We start another approval on the same document. And we will go ahead and approve it second time. As a result of this approval, the document version changes to 2.0 and the status to approved. Let's examine the approval history on the same document. Here we can see that we had 2 approval instances, and if we click inside, we will see the name of the person who approved. We'll see the approval comment. But again, the problem that we do not see that this is version 2 of the document that has been approved. That's the problem number 1. Second problem with document approval history is that each instance presented as a separate page. So to actually see the details, you would have to click inside of each instance. This can be challenging if you have a requirement to report on the document approval history, let's say for a period of time, or who approved, who participated in that document approval. And the third problem with document approval history is that after 60 days, this approval history disappears from the page. This happens because Microsoft put in a timer job, cleanup timer job, which unlinks the document from its approval history, this auto cleanup timer job. The history still stays in the workflow hidden list, but it disappears from the document page, which can be very challenging because very often business does have a requirement to keep the document approval record for several years. To solve all three problems with the document approval history, we'll build a custom workflow which will copy document approval history into another list. That's a custom list that I created. It's almost identical to a ApprovalHistory history list, except it has some additional columns, such as document version, document ID, and version history, which is a link to the document version history. To build the workflow which will copy the approval history into a custom list, we will use M4W Query.asmx web method. This web service takes three parameters: library name, which will be documents, history name, workflow history, and the list that we want to copy to, approval history. In SharePoint Designer, we will call into our custom web service using HTTP web service call. Here, the request address will be query approval history method. We also have to pass it a header which has one parameter authorization and which is empty. The header you set in the properties of the HTTP call method here. And then we build dictionary of parameters. This is the same parameters we just discussed in the browser. Library, workflow history list, and target list that we want to copy to. After that, we will just get response content back and save our response text in the workflow history. This is how our custom workflow that copies workflow history works. We'll just go to site contents, site workflows, and we'll start it manually. Completed, and here we can see that the workflow found two instances, and if we'll go to approval history list, we'll see that we have a record for document 2 version 2.0 and document 2 version 1.0. To make it easier for the users to navigate and report on these lists, we went to site settings and enabled metadata navigation and filtering, which allows us on the list to go to list settings and use metadata navigation settings and include document ID, user, and the date. And this gives us this nice filter, key filters on the left hand side, and here you can choose a username and filter on that name, or you can choose document ID and filter on the document ID, which will give you the approval history just for that document, in our case document 2. Let me take a step back and highlight that we solved all three problems by copying approval history into our custom list. First of all, the custom web method was able to find the document version that approval applies to. It does it by comparing the dates on the approval task and the document version. You can go to Codeplex and examine the source code to see how it's done. Second, now we have a history in one flat list, and we can easily report on it by applying key filters. And third, Because it's a custom list, it's not going to be unlinked from anything. This is your list. No timer jobs are going to touch it. Okay, our solution is done. To make it easier to recreate the custom workflow in your environment, I saved approval history as a template, and I saved the workflow as a template and uploaded them to Codeplex. So you can easily download these two files and recreate the example I just demonstrated in your environment. That's all I have on the subject. Thanks for watching.